Sunrise General Hospital, a beacon of medical excellence and pride in an affluent suburban community, was about to face an unforeseen challenge. Renowned for its cutting-edge facilities and a dedicated staff that prided itself on delivering top-notch care, the hospital's polished exterior concealed an undercurrent of prejudice that few dared to acknowledge. This was the reality Angela Nguyen, a skilled and passionate black nurse, would soon confront when she joined the team. Her journey was meant to be one of healing and making a difference, yet she was about to step into a battle she hadn't anticipated. A battle where her quiet strength would spark a much-needed transformation. Before we begin Angela's story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you enjoy heartwarming tales of resilience, unexpected twists, and justice, don't forget to subscribe. Angela's first day at Sunrise General was a milestone she had long been looking forward to. The hospital's immaculate halls, gleaming under bright fluorescent lights, radiated a sense of order and excellence. As she stepped inside, the familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee from the staff room, and despite the hospital's polished exterior, Angela sensed a strange tension in the air. She couldn't quite place it, but it made her stomach twist. She swallowed her nerves, straightened her back, and reminded herself why she was here: to help others, to heal, to bring comfort. As she approached the nurse's station, she heard the soft hum of conversations, punctuated by bursts of laughter. But as soon as Angela stepped closer, the room fell into a hush. Conversations dwindled to whispers, and eyes that had been lively moments ago quickly darted away, avoiding her gaze. The feeling of isolation hit her hard, but she had dealt with this her entire life. She had learned to stand tall and face it head-on. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. "I'm Angela Nguyen, the new nurse. Could you direct me to the head nurse's office?" A blonde nurse looked up, her eyes widening slightly as she took in Angela's presence. After a brief pause, she smiled, but it was a professional smile, devoid of warmth. "Of course," she replied, her tone polite but distant. "Down the hall, third door on the right." Angela nodded, thanked her, and walked away, fully aware of the eyes trailing her every step. Each click of her shoes echoed through the unnaturally quiet space, amplifying her presence, a reminder that she was an outsider. But she kept her chin up, her face set with determination. She had worked too hard and sacrificed too much to let a few awkward glances unsettle her now. As she approached the head nurse's office, a tall, distinguished man in a crisp white coat emerged from a nearby room. His salt and pepper hair and sharp, stern features made him look imposing, and Angela could tell immediately that he was someone with authority. Her heart skipped a beat. She thought this might be her chance to make a positive connection. She quickened her pace, her smile bright and hopeful. "Good morning, doctor," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Angela Nguyen, the new nurse starting today. It's a pleasure to meet you." The man's steel-gray eyes scanned her briefly, his expression unreadable. "I'm Dr. Taylor," he said curtly, not bothering to return her smile. "I trust you've been properly oriented to our protocols?" Angela hesitated for a moment, thrown off by his abruptness. "Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to—" "We maintain very high standards here at Sunrise," Dr. Taylor interrupted, his tone sharp. "I expect you to meet them." Without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving Angela standing there, her outstretched hand slowly dropping to her side. The encounter left her feeling deflated, her excitement dimming slightly. But she wasn't one to be easily discouraged. She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and knocked on the head nurse's door. As she waited, Angela's mind drifted back to her days in nursing school, to the countless nights she had spent studying, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but her heart full of determination. She remembered her mother's words, spoken with a mix of pride and concern. "Baby girl, you're going to have to work twice as hard as everyone else. But don't you ever let them see you sweat. We come from a long line of strong women, and that strength flows through you." Angela clung to those words like a lifeline. She had faced prejudice before, subtle and overt, but she had never let it break her. She graduated at the top of her class, her skill and dedication silencing even her harshest critics. Now, standing in the polished halls of Sunrise General, she reminded herself of that strength. She had overcome obstacles before, and she would do it again. The door opened, revealing a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. "Miss Nguyen, I presume," she said, her voice clipped. "Come in. We have a lot to cover, and I expect you to keep up." Angela followed the head nurse into the office, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. She knew she was stepping into more than just a new job. There was something beneath the surface here, a tension that everyone seemed to sense, but no one dared to address. Little did she know that her presence would soon stir up that undercurrent, exposing the toxic culture lurking beneath the hospital's prestigious facade. The rest of her first day was a blur. She met with various staff members, filled out endless forms, and was given a whirlwind tour of the facility. She did her best to smile, to engage, but the subtle dismissals, the quick glances exchanged over her head, did not escape her notice. By the time her shift ended, Angela felt exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. She had expected challenges, but she hadn't expected to feel so alone. Sitting at the bus stop, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions. The excitement she had felt that morning now seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a nagging sense of doubt. She pulled out her phone and dialed a familiar number, needing the comfort of a familiar voice. "Hey, baby girl, how was your first day?" Her mother's voice, warm and full of love, came through the line. Angela felt a lump form in her throat, and she struggled to keep her voice steady. "It was challenging, Mom." But as she caught sight of her reflection in the bus window, she remembered why she had chosen this path in the first place. She had become a nurse to help people, to make a difference, regardless of the challenges she faced. "But I'm not giving up," she added, her voice firmer. "I'm going to make this work." "That's my girl," her mother said, pride evident in her tone. "You've got this. Just remember you're stronger than they'll ever know." In the following days, Angela settled into her role, but the challenges only grew more apparent. She couldn't ignore the way her colleagues treated her differently. While her white peers seemed to glide through their shifts, chatting and laughing, Angela found herself assigned to the most demanding patients, those with complex medical needs and difficult personalities. The disparity was clear, but Angela refused to complain. She would do her job, and she would do it well. One afternoon, Angela was assigned to care for a new patient, Michael Reed. As she stepped into his room, she was greeted by a pair of sharp, discerning eyes. Mr. Reed's presence was calm, but there was an authority about him that was impossible to ignore. "Good afternoon, Nurse Nguyen," he said, his voice steady. "Thank you for taking care of me. I didn't expect to end up here after a skiing accident, but I'm glad you're here." Angela smiled, grateful for his kindness. "It's my pleasure, Mr. Reed. I'm here to make sure you're comfortable and on the path to recovery." As the days went on, Angela began to notice that Mr. Reed was not like the other patients. He was attentive, observant, and seemed to be quietly assessing everything around him. And as she got to know him better, she realized there was much more to him than met the eye. It turned out that Mr. Reed was not just a VIP patient, but a significant figure in the healthcare industry. His influence extended far beyond Sunrise General, and he was there for more than just treatment. He was there to observe, to understand the dynamics at play within the hospital. Angela sensed that Mr. Reed was aware of the subtle prejudices she was facing, but he never brought it up directly. Instead, he engaged her in conversations about her experiences, gently probing, encouraging her to open up. One day, after she had finished changing his bandages, Mr. Reed asked her, "Angela, how do you find working here at Sunrise?" Angela hesitated, unsure of how to respond. "It's challenging," she said carefully. But I'm here to do my job, and that's what I focus on. Mr. Reed nodded, his eyes thoughtful. You know, there's a difference between surviving and thriving. From what I've seen, you're more than capable of the latter. His words were kind, but they also highlighted the stark contrast between how he treated her and how the rest of the staff did. It was the first time since she had started at Sunrise that she felt truly seen, and it brought a lump to her throat. The turning point came one afternoon when Angela was unexpectedly asked to assist in a critical emergency surgery. Dr. Taylor had personally assigned her to the team. Nurse Nguyen, he said, his tone carefully neutral. We need you to assist in the operation this afternoon. This is an important case, and I expect you to be ready. Angela felt the weight of his words. This could be an opportunity to prove herself, but it could also be a trap to set her up for failure. She squared her shoulders and nodded. Yes, doctor. I'll be there. The surgery was intense, and the room was filled with tension as doctors and nurses worked under the watchful eyes of external observers. Despite the pressure, Angela remained calm, her hands steady and movements precise. She anticipated the needs of the surgeons, handing them instruments before they even had to ask. When the procedure was finally over, there was a palpable sense of relief. But Dr. Taylor's expression was anything but pleased. As they began to clean up, he turned to Angela, his voice low and cold. Nurse Nguyen, I need to see you in private. Now. Angela's heart pounded as she followed him out of the room, but she kept her face impassive. She knew that whatever was coming, she had to face it head on. They hadn't gone far when another voice, calm yet commanding, cut through the air. Dr. Taylor, I believe you've forgotten where you are and whom you're speaking to. Both Angela and Dr. Taylor turned to see Mr. Reed standing at the entrance of the room, his presence radiating authority. Dr. Taylor's face paled, his earlier bravado evaporating. Mr. Reed, I didn't realize. I'm sure you didn't, Mr. Reed said, his voice steady. But you should realize this. I have the power to determine this hospital's future, and right now, I am not inclined to support an institution that allows discrimination to flourish. Dr. Taylor stammered, but Mr. Reed's eyes were cold, unwavering. I expect an immediate investigation into this matter, and rest assured, I will be overseeing it personally. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of changes. Mr. Reed's influence brought about a comprehensive investigation into the hospital's practices, exposing the toxic culture that had been festering beneath its polished exterior. Dr. Taylor was dismissed, and mandatory diversity and inclusion training was implemented across the board. Policies were overhauled, and the hospital's hiring and promotion practices were scrutinized and reformed. With Mr. Reed's backing, Angela was appointed as the hospital's chief diversity officer. She worked tirelessly, leading efforts to transform Sunrise General into a place where every staff member felt valued and every patient received the best possible care, regardless of their background. Angela's journey, from an isolated, struggling nurse to a leader and changemaker, became a beacon of hope for many. She didn't just change her own circumstances. She opened a path for others who had been quietly suffering, showing them that they, too, had the strength to stand up and make a difference. As Sunrise General began to rebuild, Mr. Reed's influence spread beyond its walls, sparking a broader movement across the healthcare industry. Hospitals across the country began to adopt similar reforms, inspired by the changes at Sunrise. One evening, as Angela was preparing to leave for the day, she saw Mr. Reed waiting near the entrance. Heading home, Chief Diversity Officer? He asked, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Angela smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment she had never known. Yes, Mr. Reed, and thank you for everything. Mr. Reed shook his head. No, Angela, thank you. You've shown strength and resilience in the face of adversity, and that's exactly what this hospital needed. You've reminded us all why we do what we do, to make a difference in people's lives. Angela's eyes misted with tears. but they were tears of joy, of relief. She had faced countless challenges, but she had come through stronger, and she had helped transform a place that had once been a source of pain into one of hope and healing. Thank you for being a part of this journey. If you found Angela's story touching and inspiring, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like to hear more stories of resilience, courage, and change, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us.